All right, everybody, welcome back. Jim Firman with us here today. He is the CEO of the National Council on Aging, which has been an enormous fan and supporter and collaborator with Silvernest from the beginning. Jim is an extraordinary thought leader in the field. He's thoughtful, he's insightful, and the National Council on Aging has a whole host of resources that you will find hugely beneficial. They've thought about a lot of things that we haven't really thought about and made it easy to access. So with that, I want to thank you so much, Jim, for being with us today. Thank you.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
So let's begin. For those who haven't heard of the NCOA, let's start with that. Tell us about how you came to found this organization and some of the highlights that you're currently working on.
Well, NCOA was founded in 1950, just around the time I was born, so you can figure out how old I am now, to help improve the lives of older adults, especially those who are struggling. We believe that everyone has the right to age as well as possible with the best possible health and economic security. And people today have an amazing gift of time. We're living much longer than our grandparents did, which can be wonderful as long as we can afford to be older, as long as we know how to stay healthy, and we're able to remain in the community where we all want to live. And we understand that there are many challenges to doing that. So we've always had the mission of finding the best solutions that were practical ways to help people get the resources and the help they need to live full and satisfying and economically secure lives. And that's what we do. We find ideas, develop them, and then help bring the biggest ones to scale nationwide, either through public policy and advocacy changes to Medicare or Medicaid or the Old Americans Act, or by working with community partners across the country to make sure our solutions reach the people who need them.
Mm-hmm. And with this long-standing, foothold in aging and in longevity, certainly you're seeing all of the trends that are beginning to come to life as the baby boomers are getting older. We have over 100 million people over age 50 who are all beginning to pay attention to topics that are not readily found in the general public. The resources for managing the next stage of life are just coming up. We get lots of resources on parenting, for example, but as we're getting older, more and more resources are beginning to bubble up to help solve some of the questions or challenges or concerns that we may have as we get older. So what have you seen to be some of the biggest questions or concerns that people are coming to you and coming to NCOA with?
Well, one of the biggest financial questions, probably somewhere between 60% and 80% of all people over the age of 60 are either in financial trouble now or at risk of running out of money before the end of their life. It's a very small percentage that aren't going to have to worry about financial issues. So we do a number of solutions to help people be on stronger financial footing. One of the ones that we're most proud of is a program called Benefits Checkup, which has helped about 7 million people get $18 billion or more in benefits, because in a given community, there could be 100 different programs, federal, state, local, private programs that are available to people who need them. So for some of them, you have to have very low income. For others, you don't. You can qualify based with a more significant income or don't even have income requirements. So the benefits checkup makes it quick and easy for people to find out what they're eligible for. It's a service that's free, it's confidential, it's available anywhere, anytime. You can do it for yourself, or you could do it for your mother or your sister on the other part of the country. We have great results from that program. People love it. And so I encourage anybody to go use benefitscheckup.org as a wonderful service. We're very proud of what we're doing there, and we fulfill our mission by having more people use it.
It's such a fantastic program. We've also had raving reviews for those in our circles who've used it. So those of you who are watching this video, you'll have the links that you can go right there and check it out, and how surprising it may be to see the money that's been sitting there that you didn't realize you were eligible for, or maybe your mother or family member was eligible for. So the benefits checkup, huge. Love that. And the financial issue is certainly one of the reasons why shared housing has become a big topic for people to think about, and as well as I think the Aging Mastery project that you've developed is phenomenal. It's also to help people rethink aging and to rethink having an open mindset to redesigning the next stage of life. And part of that is assessing finances and creative ways to not only secure finances by maybe having a roommate, using the benefits checkup so you don't have to just feel afraid and stuck and alone, but also to recognize that a lot of this population you're speaking about, 60 plus, grew up in community all the time. Aunts and uncles and grandpas and grandmas, and there was dinners and everyone was around, and then they were living in communes and had roommates and did a lot of things in group settings. And then all of a sudden now it's crickets. The house is quiet. There's not as much going on. So I'd love to hear you reflect a little bit about what you've seen from that perspective, and how you could recommend older adults take a look at that aspect of the mindset of getting older and how to recreate those really important connections with other people.
Yeah, thank you. I've been in this field of aging for a long time, since I had a full head of hair and I was out of graduate school. And, I thought I knew a lot about it. And then about 6 or 7 years ago, when I was turning 60 and all of my friends were calling up and, complaining or afraid of it, I realized even though that I was an expert, I didn't really know how to age well myself. I mean, at a theoretical level, but not at a practical level. What should I do? And I figured if I don't know, my high school classmates don't know, and by extension, 75 million baby boomers don't know. And I began to think about, why is that the case? And if you think about it, for the first major transition in life is from youth to adulthood. And people have elementary school, middle school, high school. Many have 4 years of college. They have the Girl Scouts, the Boy Scouts, the YMCA, the 4-H, youth groups associated with their church or synagogue. We have all these institutions to prepare people for the first transition, and we have nothing to prepare people for what a phase of life, which we now think of as retirement, but I think of should be transformed into graduation, not retirement. So how is it that we're going to know what we're supposed to do? How do we? The one thing I do know is everything I learned about health in high school is wrong. In health class, I learned no pain, no gain when it comes to exercise. You're supposed to exercise to failure. When on the sports teams, we weren't allowed to take water breaks, so we had no idea about dehydration. And of course, we wouldn't have learned about many of the other issues and complexity. So it became clear to us that the best thing we could do was help develop a new curriculum, not so much for lifelong learning, which is about going back to college and taking courses again, but really a curriculum for long life learning. How do I understand and prepare myself to get the most out of this phase of life, to be healthy, not only physically healthy, but mentally, financially, emotionally, socially? So that's what prompted us to develop and test the Aging Mastery program. It is a fun, engaging program that people love. 98% of the people say it was a lot of fun. People report significant improvements in health, in finances, and in quality of life in other ways, because it creates friendships when you do things together. And it's all based on kind of an attitude shift that, yeah, there are challenges with growing older, but at the most fundamental level, we've been given a gift of time. For many of us at 60, my grandfather, for example, retired at 65, the average male only had about 5 years of good health past that, and then 5 or 6 years of in serious decline. Today, a male at 65 will have 13 or 14 years of good health, and on average 18 to 20 years. Women retiring at 65 will easily live to 20 to 25 years longer. So we need to invent a new script for this phase of life. And we're very proud of the program. We've had about 15,000 people through it so far, and it's really growing all across the country. And we now have a new book, a self-starter kit called the Aging Mastery Playbook, which is available through NCOA and I think soon available through Amazon as well. So we're going to get the message out that this can be the best time of your life, but you got to go to school for it a little bit. You got to study, and we're very proud of that, and we hope more and more people will take advantage of that.
We do too. We're such big fans of the Aging Mastery program. It is a lot of fun. It is insightful, and it's something you can do on your own. You could go to a course that's being offered in your community. You could take it with a friend. So thank you for going over the Aging Mastery course. I love it.
In order to reach more people with Aging Mastery, we realized that we wanted to have more than just classroom kind of programming that's offered in a community center or a community college or in a senior center. So we developed something called the Aging Mastery Starter Kit, which is a program in a box. It's got a book called the Aging Mastery Playbook. It has 2 DVDs on Tai Chi and yoga for older people. It has a deck of cards with prompts for different activities. It's kind of an all-in-one package that consumers seem to love, and it's good both for older people and their caregivers, because sometimes caregivers in particular are stressed out and they need somebody to make it fun and provide practical pathways to make life better.
Wonderful. So that's a product that people can order today through the NCOA website, and eventually you're looking to have that on Amazon as well.
Yes, we hope to, yes. Another solution offered by NCOA is a website called mymedicarematters.org. What we've learned is that most people are leaving a few $1,000s a year on the table because they don't have the best insurance plans for themselves right now. Oftentimes, people make a good decision when they first sign up for Medicare, but then the plans change and they don't change. So we've tried to make it simpler for people both who are first coming into Medicare and have to make decisions, and then once a year when they have the opportunity to look at other options, to find a plan that will better meet their needs. But a couple of million people come to that website and get very high ratings as well.
Amazing. The resources are astonishing, and you can access these resources for free, correct?
Right, yes.
Which is
not the book, but the websites are free.
The website's free. You can go and check it out. You can check it out for yourself or a family member who may be on, who's on Medicaid and they haven't changed their plan. Maybe they can save some money there. So again, the point is the same, that everybody has to pay attention. They have to put in a little bit of effort to assess what's happening in our financial landscape to make sure that you're secure and covered and prepared. We have to spend a little bit of time attending to this next stage of life. Like you said, learning about life as we get older, and this next season that is such a gift. So I'd love to hear your perspectives. You're such a thoughtful, philosophical person. Silvernest is really working to help reframe this concept of having a homemate, a housemate, to share your home with someone. So for a homeowner who has an extra bedroom, may have never considered the idea that they could have a full-time housemate. And then to use Silvernest as a tool to ease those concerns, to make it easier, safer, to provide resources to do all the work for you, to sort the type of a roommate you might want to have, to make it easier to chat with those folks, to kind of decide if this is the right person for you. So I'd love to hear your reflections on the fact that that is a great idea for a lot of folks. At the back end of having companionship, even if it's somebody who's bumbling around the house, actually makes you feel better, more secure. But sometimes there's just those reservations that get in the way of even trying it. So from all the years you spent working with older adults and what you've learned about the importance of financial security creatively and the health risks of social isolation, what would be your suggestions to those homeowners out there who have an extra bedroom, but just are a little on the fence of even considering an idea like this?
There are two things I really love about the Silvernest concept. It provides financial security and it helps reduce social isolation. And both of those are very important issues. And Silvernest offers kind of a 2-for-1 solution. The reality is that most older adults, certainly most older homeowners, have empty bedrooms. And the reason they do is because they may have had kids and they moved out, or perhaps their spouse passed on. As a basic financial fact, for most people, the home is by far and away their largest financial asset. And by living alone or living with empty bedrooms, you are not optimizing that asset. And it's a hidden cost. You don't see it, but if you have, let's say, a 3 or 4 bedroom house and you're only living in one of those rooms, you are paying property taxes, you are paying maintenance, you are paying upkeep that could add up to a few $1,000s a year, which you may say that's not too much, but you do that for 15 years, that's $50,000 or more plus interest. So I don't believe that anybody, any homeowner, unless they have so much money it doesn't matter, can ignore the fact that there's a big financial cost to having empty bedrooms. Now, maybe you have one because your kids are going to come back, but I really believe most people should either right size, meaning move to a smaller house, or they should figure out a way to do exactly the kind of thing that Silvernest is doing, making it easy to get some additional income from renting out those rooms. You're also, in addition to doing something that's financially smart, you're doing something that is socially smart in the sense of helping another person who's got a housing situation. They need a place to live and they can afford to rent and they can't afford to buy. So right off the bat, you're helping two people financially by doing this. But then, as we all know, and the healthcare world is now waking up to, is that one of the biggest factors, whether people are doing well or not doing well in their later years, is how much social connection they have. How often are they spending time with people that they like, doing things that they like to do? Social isolation is becoming known as a big problem. Other countries have developed ministers of loneliness in Spain and Britain and other countries because they recognize that it's such a significant issue here. So Silvernest and people who bring in shared housing and roommate, especially if they have a service like Silvernest, which helps them screen and find the right person for them, personality-wise and otherwise, are also going to get the benefits that come from sharing socialization. And perhaps, maybe sharing cooking and sharing other kinds of things which can make it easier to get by. So we think it's an idea that makes great sense. And people need a good, trusted organization like Silvernest to help them make the right match, make sure the person they're connecting with is on the up and up, and it's kind of a safe match as well. So that's why I think that Silvernest is such a great service, and I'm glad to see that it's flourishing.
No, that's wonderful. Thank you. Well, so my last question for you is a personal reflection that you've been in this industry long before you were a member of the industry, right? And you suggested that once you reached 60, that was a moment you started assessing, oh, wait a minute, I actually don't know how to do this either. So now that you've had some time in that world of swimming and creating, where are you now? How are you reflecting on the next season of your life, and what are some of the changes that you made personally that you think has shifted your mindset around longevity in the next season of life?
Well, I'm 67, and when I was 57, I had quintuple bypass surgery and could have died, but I didn't, and in fact, I'm all fine. I think. But that gave me a pause because all the men in my family had died in their 40s or 50s of heart disease. So at the age of 57, in a very fundamental way, I got to understand that this time of life is a gift. And if it wasn't for modern medicine, I wouldn't be here. So that profound and with insight, which is what makes this phase of life different than just middle age, is an understanding that we don't have forever, that each day is a gift. And yeah, my knee may hurt and I may not hear as well or see as well, but I'm here and I get to enjoy this day. So I've that having that insight, which I saw my son at 20 had that insight because he was diagnosed with cancer and he's doing great now. But when you realize that we don't have forever, and I want to make the most of the time, that to me is the key insight. It's also a recognition that the warranty on the body ran out at age 40, if not early. It's all about maintenance. It's all about putting in the work to do the right thing, eating well, exercising, meditating. Those little things really make a big difference. The other thing that I've realized, and I'm very lucky in this sense, is that through the earlier phases of life, we don't think about what is my purpose in life, because when you're younger, you're supposed to be learning and maybe, obeying your parents and, growing up. And then in the next phase of life, you're working and you have responsibility to your children, you're paying off a mortgage, you're taking care of your parents and all those kinds of things. You have a job. And then people get to this next phase of life, which they call retirement, which I think we're going to reframe to think of it as graduation, and nothing's clear anymore. Most people think, okay, this is the time I'm going to go through my bucket list of leisure. I'm going to travel to all the places I didn't go to before. I'm going to play a lot of golf or play a lot of tennis. And what tends to happen 3 or 4 or 5 years into this pursuit, first of all, you get tired of traveling after a while. You've been everywhere. You just want to stay home. And you can't play golf or tennis anymore because you overdid it and you have a tennis elbow or a knee, and so you get upset. And so then the question comes, why am I here? What's the purpose of this phase of life? If you're lucky enough to have a grandchild nearby, then that becomes a purpose. Your daughter or son, as my daughter does, she drops my 9-year-old granddaughter off, and I have a purpose, which is to do whatever she wants me to do and play with her. And that's really great. But for a lot of people, they don't have those connections. So I personally view this phase of life. I don't want to retire. I kind of feel like, wow, I've kind of just figuring out how to make a difference in the world. I have great joy working with my colleagues to help people. And I'm inspired by a quote by Shimon Peres, who was the president of Israel and one of the founders, who began to write about longevity. And he said 2 things. The difference between an old person and a young person is not how old they are. It's whether their dreams are greater than their accomplishment. If you spend your time focusing on what you've done and think you don't have much more to do, then you're old. If you're always, no matter what you've done, if you're always dreaming about more, that's what keeps you young. And he said that, in Pacific, he said that we are as great as the cause we serve and as young as our dream. So to me, the key to this phase is finding something you're passionate about and getting engaged with other people to create a better future, whether it's in your community, whether it's part of a cause, political or civic, whether it's reading to a small child. That passion for a cause is what I think I've seen is what makes people truly happy and gives them great satisfaction. I also really believe that this can and should be the best period of people's lives, but that requires some effort and understanding how to do it. but that's our goal. We had a goal in 2011. We set up a goal of improving the lives of 10 million people by 2020. People thought we were crazy. We didn't quite know how we were going to do it, but we had faith. And we've just learned that we achieved our goal 2 years early. We set a goal of 10 million people by 2020. And now we're setting bigger sights. And in a few months, we're going to be announcing a much bigger goal for 2030. So I think the opportunity that people in my stage of life had is don't think about retiring, think about graduating. To what do you want to graduate to? Yes, you have more time, you don't have as many responsibilities, but you're going to get bored without some meaningful activities to keep you going. But all of us, we are co-creating this new phase of life. It doesn't exist. There's no playbook, there's no curriculum. So by learning and sharing with others, we are creating a new future, not only for ourselves, but for the next generation to follow us.
Well, that pretty much ties it up with a bow right there. Thank you. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Inspiring. Thank you so much, Jim, Firman, NCOA, for being with us today. We are so appreciative of your insights and the wonderful work that NCOA is doing.
Thank you very much.